Gentleman from 13.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To debate in favor of the override. You
have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to read from the governor's letter, I think that that's already been established. We can. Here's my concern and what the the gentleman on the second floor said. House Bill 135 further prohibits the state, as well as counties and cities, from taking any action that, quote, limit a constitutional right. Idahoans value freedom, and I agree that our constitutional rights can never be outright suspended, especially during emergencies. It was only a year ago, Mr. Speaker, that our constitutional rights were outright suspended. The right to assemble, or the right to exercise our religion, which is in the First Amendment to the Constitution, was outright suspended. In fact, this issue was argued before the United States Supreme Court with regards to the state of California, and the Supreme Court agreed that you cannot limit that constitutional right. He goes on to say, however, temporary limitations on our rights are necessary in some circumstances to effectively combat emergency conditions and to protect the greater good. If this individual feels like that constitutional rights can temporarily have limitations placed on them, and he did with regards to our First Amendment, what about our Second Amendment? What if we have a governor who is very anti-Second Amendment? If this is the line of thinking that we subscribe to and we think is okay in the state of Idaho, we have a major, major problem. As I read the First Amendment, it says that our First Amendment rights cannot be abridged, which means curtailed or diminished. Yet that's exactly what happened a year ago in this state. And our Second Amendment rights cannot be infringed. Mr. Speaker, I'm very concerned that this is the position that the executive branch is taking. And I think the only way that we can push back is that we can override the executive action on House Bill 135. It was very clear the intent of this body and the august body across the rotunda that we wanted to ensure that constitutional rights were never limited, were never temporarily suspended for the greater good. Our founding fathers had the wisdom to recognize that governments have the ability to continue to take away liberties a little bit at a time. And they said, you know what, these rights, those constitutional rights, can never be abridged or can never be infringed upon. And yet that happened in our state. I am extremely disappointed that that happened in our state, and our citizens expect our action to protect their constitutional rights and to ensure that this never, ever happens again. And so I'd ask that you support the motion to override.